everyone, I'm Ashley and this is Chris, and we are a marriage surviving sexual addiction and infidelity. I wanted to discuss first and foremost why I stayed. I think that is a question that goes through everyone's head. If you're going through this or if you are hearing about a situation like this, you want to know, why'd you stay? And to basically sum it up, of something that would take a very long time, why I stayed is because family is extremely important to me. I have an eternal perspective on family. I feel as if it should be eternal and fought for and work hard for it. And I love my husband, and I was never lying when I said I loved him, and all the things that I did throughout our marriage the whole time, I was never lying about it. And so to find out that he was lying about some of it or doing things, it doesn't stop how I feel about him. Having said all that, if he didn't choose to work on our relationship and didn't choose right away to stay and fight, I don't know that we would be in this situation. I don't know that we would be a marriage surviving. A lot of this comes from the fact that we both decided pretty much right away to fight hard. That doesn't mean that we didn't have some hard times. That doesn't mean that at times we both maybe thought it wasn't going to work. But we both kept fighting through that, and we both stayed and fought. But if this was abusive in any way, shape, or form, or if he seemed like he was going to leave, we would not be a marriage surviving infidelity and sexual addiction by any means, because it takes a ton of work on both parts to be able to make this work. But every question that I've had, I mean, it was hard. It was, if I'm staying, what am I teaching my children? And it's humiliating a little bit, a lot of it. It's something that is constantly difficult to think about of, will I ever trust him again? Will I ever feel the same way? Because a lot of trust and love does go out the window when you find out some of this stuff. For me, it was really hard to separate the fact that my husband was kind of two people. He was the husband I fell in love with and the addict that's inside of my husband. And because they're both the same person, sometimes it would really mess with my mind about, is this the man I love or is this the addict? And are they the same person? And is everything a lie? Like family pictures and everything like that were hard to look at for a while. And so I had to really fight through all that. And what really helped is my husband created a lot of safety. We were in 8 different programs to save our marriage. Counseling really helped. I prayed constantly, and it never felt right to leave. That was just always my answer whenever I thought, oh, this is not going to work. It would always come back, no, it's not right to leave. And to be honest, as long as he continued to fight, I continued to fight, because I knew that I would always regret not fighting extremely hard for my family if we were both going to do this together. And so I stayed and I chose to fight, and it wasn't easy. It's not an easy decision. And sometimes 4 years later, after having a lot of safety and trust be rebuilt, it still sometimes is not easy. It's a hard thing to overcome for anyone, but I chose to stay because of the love that we have, the safety that's created. My husband has put forth a lot of work, and that is something that I hope other husbands, if you're watching out there, hear, is that he was patient when I had my lows. He was patient when I didn't want to get out of bed, or he was patient when I would get mad. I would get angry, and I would start to yell, or I'd start to feel frustrated, and he would kind of sit there and he would just, he would listen, and he worked really hard to develop empathy, because I think that was hard for him for a while being an addict. But he worked really hard with counseling and with different things of, what does she need from me, and let me pause for a second before I get defensive, and before I start yelling at her, and before I say, why are you bringing this up again? He would put himself in my shoes, and it would help both of us, because I would try to put myself in his shoes, and our communication would just become about putting one another first. And the more that we did that, the more safety grew in the marriage. Trust is still difficult. Trust takes a really long time to gain back. But safety can be created pretty quickly if you're going through the steps and the motions. And that's what he did. He tried really quickly to create a safe environment. So he would check in with me constantly. He would validate me a whole lot more than he ever had before. He would tell me what he was thinking. He would try really hard to communicate. All those things that made it a little more safe in the marriage. And then it just one by one, each day got a little easier. And I was able to start to compartmentalize the addict as opposed to the man I fell in love with. Because the one I fell in love with, he was always there. He's always been in there. It felt like that was a lie too for a while. And then slowly but surely it started to come out that it wasn't. And so by putting forth that effort and putting forth the work, it became a lot easier to stay. And it was no longer doubts or like, we're never going to make it through this. Are you serious? It just started to work, and it's time, and nobody likes to hear that it just takes a lot of time, but it does. It take a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort. And I'm here, and staying is the best thing that I have ever done, because I still have my husband, and we still have our family, and I don't have to go through that yucky having to even spend one night away from my kids. Like, I never wanted to do that. That was a huge factor that I felt like that would not be fair, and I was really angry about that. And honestly, this is obviously a way better alternative, is to look at my husband again with starry eyes and how much I love and adore him. I didn't really think that was ever going to come back, and yet through hard work and long time, it has. And it's something that I cherish, and something I thank God for every night, that we both decided to equally fight, and when one was lacking, the other one would pick up the slack. And that's why I stayed, and I'm so very thankful that I did. So thank you.